starts now.
Let's jump straight in. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Lady Wu in for Chris Coleman. The big day before the election. Yeah, I've been talking about it a lot. So the energy will build. It will build. We've been doing this now for a few weeks. So we're in today expecting a couple of guests to call in. Some of the candidates who you need to hear from, need to know about, know what their platforms are, who they're running against, and to encourage you to get out and vote tomorrow. That's what we're doing all day today. I'm going to open the phone lines up for you guys all throughout the show so that you can call in and share your thoughts and feelings about the voting process. If you have any questions, I have some resources to provide. Expecting a couple of my friends to call in as well who were a part of the show on last night. If you listened to the Abby Award-winning Vital Show, we got so much information disseminated yesterday and shared with us. I learned a lot. We shared a lot, and we're going to share that information again. So the phone lines will be open throughout the show. Feel free to call in if it is pertaining to the topic at hand. I'm not taking any other calls today, period. It's just been a lot going on with that. So we only want to talk about what we're talking about. And of course, post in the comments as well. Hey, caller, we're going to get started with you. You're in the think tank with Lady Wu right here on the V. Who is this?
Hi, it's Congresswoman Sewell. How are you?
Congresswoman, how are you?
I am hanging in there.
I know you
I
are.
was calling just to encourage everybody to exercise their civic duty tomorrow and go out and vote.
Yes, ma'am.
And just wanted people to understand what was on the ballot. I really believe that so much is on the ballot. Our very democracy is on the ballot. We got to make sure that we have voting rights. We got to make sure that we have economic rights. And we have to really work on equity issues and justice issues and safety issues for our community.
Yes. So we know that you've always been working since day one, before day one. But right now we're up against some challenges and we need you to continue your work. So what does that look like? What do you need us to do?
I need you guys to vote like your life depends upon it.
Like your life depends upon it. Man.
Absolutely. We need to retain the House and the Senate if we really want the agenda that Biden-Harris has embarked upon, which includes bipartisan infrastructure bill, which would give $100 million to the state of Alabama for broadband, another $5.2 billion for roads and bridges. And, I need to make sure that we have the right folks up in the state house to make sure that money is equitably distributed when it does come down.
Right.
So I really want your listening audience to vote the straight Democratic ticket in order to make sure that we have the right folks in office to get the things that we need done. I really believe that Democrats have really passed the laws in Congress that have rescued America from its pandemic. We've given billions for roads and bridges and broadband. And you know what? It's Democrats who will protect Medicare and Social Security and fight for our voting rights. So I just wanted to call in and ask everyone to go and vote the straight Democratic ticket tomorrow.
Straight Democratic. That's easy enough. Like, you don't have to get in there and try to figure out what to bubble in. Like we're telling you who's for you. What the people that have served you all along are continuing to serve and need to be put back in their seats to make it happen.
Absolutely.
What does your day look like today? I know you've been bouncing around. What are you doing for the rest of the day and tomorrow?
So I'm back in Birmingham. My district is pretty large. It includes Tuscaloosa and parts of Montgomery and the Black Belt. So I've been zipping across my district literally all month long, trying to make sure that everybody understands what's at stake. And also, we've been really delivering some money to our HBCUs for the past couple of weeks. I don't know if you've been watching our Twitter feed, but we were able to get $500,000 for Miles College and for Selma University and for Alabama State and Alabama A&M. We've been on a roll. I think that it's one thing to talk about supporting our HBCUs, but this administration has really made resources available. I was able to get a line item in our budget that will help historically Black colleges and to renovate those important dormitories and buildings on their campuses that have historic value. And so many do, right? So many do.
We are
So that's
grateful for
been great.
that. We are grateful for that.
Absolutely.
I represent two
And
of the
we
schools
were
that you
also able to
mentioned.
get we were able to get the city of Birmingham $140 million as a part of the American Rescue Plan, and Jefferson County got a lot of money. And of course, we have to make sure we're good stewards of those resources and that we are expending those resources to help everyone. And I've been we've been very blessed to have a great partnership with Mayor Woodfin and wonderful city council folks to really try to, and the county commission people to really try to make sure that we are getting those resources distributed equitably. And when you think about our HBCUs, we also think about our debt forgiveness. Only in the Democratic administration have we even thought about having debt forgiveness, and so many of our Republican colleagues, my Republican colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
are fighting that and are actually suing against helping folks. When I think about the fact that our greatest resource are our people, we have to invest in our people, and investing in education is doing just that.
Man, we appreciate that, and congratulations to you on your doctorate. I heard something about that. Look,
I
education
was
is
excited about
big.
that.
Yeah, tell us about
Yeah,
that.
it was such an honor to speak at the convocation for Stillman College, and
Mm-hmm.
they surprised me by giving me an honorary degree, and I
Ooh,
am just, elated. It's a wonderful institution. My niece went to Stillman College, so the Sewell family, all of us contributed to that education. So
okay.
I'm part of the family of Stillman College
Yes,
when it comes to that. And we were also able to present them with $2.7 million to help them
man.
develop a information technology and cybersecurity training center. We're spending a
Yes.
lot of money in the federal government around cybersecurity and information technology. Why not use some of that money to have workforce development centers on HBCU campuses? So we were able to get the very first one for Stillman College, and I'm so excited about
That is major. So the work, like you, I've never seen you not working. I've never seen any issue with Terry Sewell getting some work done. So why would we
that. Yeah.
want to risk that not continuing? Everybody, you hear her, you hear the energy, you've seen her energy. Keep her there. Keep her
Well, thank you so
there
much,
for sure.
Lady Wu. We are really working hard, and I just want you all to know that we can't do it alone, right? We've got to have great people in the White House. We've got to
Yes.
have the House and the Senate also staying Democratic. I mean, a lot of stuff is going on, and a lot will depend upon what happens in the Senate race in Georgia.
Ooh.
We've been crisscrossing around the nation to try to help other Democrats because I know that in order to keep these resources flowing, I've got to have a Democratic House. I
Mm.
like having a gavel and being a subcommittee chair.
Okay, and we
It's
like you doing
important
that
that
too.
and
Ooh.
so I was I love having Kamala Harris in the VP slot and working with her on HBCU issues and voting rights issues. And old battles have become new again when you think about the
Mm-hmm.
fact that our ancestors fought for voting rights, and now all of a sudden voting rights are at stake. I mean, we have Republicans who literally tried to have an insurrection on the Capitol
Right.
during January 6th.
Right.
And so we got to make sure that we're not electing election deniers, people who didn't even think that Biden won, the Biden Harris ticket won. I think that it's really important that we have willing partners, able partners up and down the ballot, which is why I really want to encourage everyone to go in and literally, circle in the straight Democratic Party ticket and then turn that ballot over and vote on those amendments. That's one way to get in and out and vote very easily,
Yes.
and also at the same time ensure that you are electing people who will do right by you and your family. That's what this is about. It's about making sure that we have able partners up and down the ballot, whether that's on the school board, in the county commission, the state house, the state senate, and of course, federally. I'm honored every day to represent Alabama's 7th District, and I could only do it if we have, folks that are really going to help focus our priorities on the things that matter most to us.
Yes.
Whether that's quality health care, being able to close the education equity gap, whether that's health care, whether that's fighting for our veterans to make sure that they get the health care that they've earned. It's about folks having our back in Congress and in the state house and in the county commission. So important that we just go and exercise that very sacred right to vote.
Thank you. The information that you share and just the wealth of knowledge that you have about what you do, that inspires me, that encourages me when I hear of people that are doing their jobs. They know the ins and outs of it. They can educate us while they encourage us to get out and vote. That means everything to me.
Absolutely.
So thank you for
And
sharing that.
right, and I know that people are suffering.
Yeah.
Inflation is real. This economy, is bouncing back, reeling back from a pandemic, a global pandemic. We have war going on in the Ukraine. We have, supply chain issues. But it's been the Democratic Party and this administration that's been working through that. We've seen the price of gas go down $1.25 since the summer when things were really jacking up, and we know that the other side is talking about inflation, but they're not coming up with any solutions. They're not investing in domestic production of oil.
Hmm.
They're not talking about bringing down the price of groceries, or in a state house having, tax-free groceries and necessities. You know what I'm saying? It's really been the Democrats that have been doing that and been focused, laser focused on trying to, bring prices down, whether that's prices of prescription drugs, prices of groceries, prices of gas.
Hmm.
It's about making sure that we are focused on the things that matter most, and those kitchen table issues, worrying about being able to afford your medicine or put food on the
Yes.
table or be able to drive your children to, to school. It's all of those things are really critically important. And when we don't go and vote, we allow others to determine our fate, right?
Absolutely.
Not voting, showing apathy like that is a vote. You're voting to not have your voice heard in this democracy.
Right.
So I really want to encourage everybody to get out and vote. And I know every election we say is consequential, but I'm here to tell you that when you think about the fact that we have block granted to the state of Alabama all this money for infrastructure, I don't know about you, but I want to make sure that our roads and bridges, the ones in our communities, are actually fixed. I want to make sure that we get broadband. The Republicans are talking about the last mile when we have so many communities in our district that don't have the first mile of broadband. We
Mm.
saw that exposed in during the pandemic. And I really want folks to know that we have a lot of work to do. We've done a lot of great work. When I first took office, we had double digit unemployment, and one of the things that has been really that the Biden Harris administration has worked so hard on, we now have the lowest levels of unemployment that this nation has seen literally in 5 decades.
That's
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 that's impressive.
it
But we
is.
also know that we need to have good paying jobs, not just any jobs,
Right.
but people deserve to make a livable wage. And it's really those kinds of issues that I'm looking forward to going back to Washington and fighting for, to make sure that we're not just having minimum wage, but we are really having livable wages that will help
Hmm.
people be able to sustain themselves and grow. So there's still a lot of work to be done, and I can't tell you how important it is that we are electing folks up and down the ballot that will do the roll up their sleeves and do the hard work. Even though the state of Alabama is red, our district is blue, and we need to make sure that we're out there reelecting Sheriff Petway, reelecting Lenise Washington, and the cutout for
Hmm.
the Bessemer DA, as well as Danny Carr. I mean, there's just so many great public servants out there that need our support. We can't do this job without the support of others. And I think that it's really important that we send a very powerful message to the state of Alabama that we Democrats are here. We're here to stay,
We
and we're going to
here.
fight with everything we have to make sure that our communities get the equitable distribution of resources that they deserve.
Man, we look. I am excited with like the energy that comes behind somebody that is already working. I can't stress that enough. It's not like, I want to get in to prove to you that I can. You've already done that. You've shown us. Now we need to show you that we get what you've done. We get the work that your team has been doing on our behalf. And I can say on behalf of those that are vital, we appreciate that. And if all we need to do is vote tomorrow, like that's the least of the worries. Like we vote, you work. You know.
Absolutely. And we all have to work, right? We all have to be good stewards of the resources we get. We also have to remember that all of us, especially our district, and we know in Birmingham that people died, marched, died,
Hmm.
fought, bled for the right to vote,
Right.
to really to make this country live up to its ideals of democracy for all. And in order to do that, in order for us to be able to have compassionate people in our DA's office, hardworking public servants and law enforcement doing what they're supposed to do, we've got to make sure that we're doing our part too. And the least that we could do is get out and vote. And, tomorrow's supposed to be a beautiful day, another
Yes, it
really pretty
is.
day.
Yep.
And so there's going to be no excuse not to get up and go and vote. Make a plan to go and vote. If you have to do it during lunch hour, make sure that you know exactly where you need to go, your polling station. Make sure you're carrying that photo ID because the state of Alabama is requiring us to do that. And while we're fighting in the courts to make sure that we have equal access to the ballot box, right now that's the law of the land. So let's make sure that we're ready with everything we need to go in there and vote tomorrow. And I just want to again reiterate, I hope that you all will vote the straight Democratic ticket, bubble that in, and make sure that you don't forget that we have some important amendments on the back as well.
All
Back
right.
of the ballot as well.
So I appreciate that about the plans. What I like to do is
Yep.
always educate people on the role that you play, what your job does. Like, what is your job and what does it do? So they can be clear. Like, when I want to ask somebody, hey, I need to call Terry Sewell, but what am I calling her for? What does she do? Like, what are you responsible for? What are we getting you back to?
Absolutely. So I am responsible for your federal needs. So if you have issues with veterans benefits before the VA system, if you have problems getting your Social Security or disability,
Mhm.
call my office. I have an office in Birmingham. I have an office in Selma, office in Montgomery. We have an office in Tuscaloosa. We are where our people live and making sure that we are there to help with whatever federal needs. If your school wants to come to Washington, D.C. and do a tour of the Capitol, I can help set that up. My office can help set that up. If you need a passport on an emergency basis, so
Okay.
anything federal, any of the federal needs that our constituents have, whether that's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, whether that's tax. I mean, the income tax. IRS is a federal agency,
Mhm.
so we're here to help our constituents access federal needs, federal services,
Gotcha.
and we are your conduit to everything federal, right? So if you have anything, an issue that's before a federal agency,
Mhm.
or you have a concern that it's about a federal program, whether that's Pell Grants or Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security, all of those are federal agencies and federal needs. And so, while I work with a lot of our local folks to make sure that those resources that are coming in from the federal government to our state,
Yes.
and that's a lot of resources when you think about the fact that Alabama is benefits greatly from the federal government. For every $1 of taxes we send to the federal government, we get back
Mm.
$2.
Okay.
So all these folks are talking about succeeding from the union, talking about not worried about what's going on in the federal government. We have to make sure that we are not only receiving those resources, but also distributing them equitably to the people who need it most.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
what I really am fighting for. I'm fighting for the least of these, and for all of us to make sure that we have the ability to reach our God-given potential.
Mm.
That's what education, that's what workforce development is all about, right? It's really
Absolutely.
about ensuring those things. And why not use federal resources to really, to effectuate the change you want to see in your communities, whether that is making sure that we're getting our law enforcement the resources, the tools they need to protect us, whether that's making sure that we have our HBCUs are viable into the 21st century by having workforce development centers on those campuses, by making sure that we are investing in infrastructure on those campuses, and of course making sure that we're providing federal funds for people to be able to borrow money and also have grants through Pell Grants in order to go for higher education or two-year education. It's so important.
Man, you just broke that all the way down. I love education. I love it because it encourages people. Once I know, when I'm not ignorant to the facts or to, whatever's in front of me, I'm more prone to accept it. I'm more prone to support it when I know more. So platforms like ours are so necessary to our community because when people know, they go. And then not only they go vote. And that's what we need them to do on tomorrow. For those of you who are watching, you are hearing the voice of our representative up there with the feds, Terry Sewell, and it's going to be important that we get her back in DC. That's what we're talking about right now. That's whose voice you hear if you're listening and you just got in. This is what's happening right now. We'll be talking about the amendments a little bit later on. We have another firecracker in the room too that's going to share with us as well. So we're really
thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
And just want folks to know that it is an honor every day for me to represent you all in Washington. And I hope that you'll send me back because we have so much work to do. When we think about the fact that states like Alabama are trying to make it harder for people to vote, you want me in Washington carrying that seminal piece of legislation called the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which will restore federal protection for voting rights. So when the states mess up, we have to look to the federal government to make sure that they have oversight. We have oversight to make sure that the states are doing what they're supposed to do. And so it's a great honor for me. And I just want to reiterate again, please go and vote. Vote like your life depends upon it because it does. And I'm asking you to vote the straight Democratic ticket. Thank you so much for the opportunity to say hello. And if people have any federal needs, please call our Birmingham office. It's 205-254-1960. We're here to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Look, all we have to do is get out and vote on tomorrow, and we can do our part at making sure that those who represent us are where they need to be. That was our own Terry Sewell, like ours. Yes. What's up, sis?
Hey, I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Before we go any further, like in a city and in a town like ours, we all know each other. And a lot of times we forget what we do and what our titles are and that type of thing. So it's like, what's up, sis? Hey, that's my church member. That's my neighbor, Marika Coleman. But Marika Coleman is who and is going to be who on tomorrow when we vote?
Sure. I'm currently State Representative Marika Coleman, and I'll be that until midnight tomorrow.
Okay.
And then God willing, with the voters' help, at midnight tomorrow, I will transition into Senator-elect Marika Coleman for State Senate District 19. And then at 8:30 tomorrow, 8:30 on Wednesday morning, I will be sworn in as Senator Marika Coleman for Senate District 19. The legislature has the opportunity to be sworn in immediately. Actually, we could be sworn in at 12 a.m. And so the collective of us in the cutoff, I'm going to tell you what's been so amazing to me about this election cycle. If the listening audience could actually see, I have a push card that is of all the Democrats that are running in Jefferson County.
Okay.
And it is, we're and on the back, you'll see we're urging people to vote the straight Democratic ticket. We have some amazing, that's the message.
Okay.
We have an amazing group of Democratic nominees. So I'm the Democratic nominee, and I do have a Libertarian opponent on the ballot. And so I just hadn't seen this before. It's unprecedented, especially for those of us in the Bessemer cutoff.
Okay.
And so in the Bessemer cutoff, my district encompasses actually 5 different House districts. So a Senate district is 3 times as big as a House district. But there are 3 major pieces to Senate District 19. House District 55, 56, and 57, which is the seat that I'm leaving. We have all been working collectively together along with our district attorney in the cutoff. We're even having a joint election night watch party tomorrow night at the bistro.
I saw that.
But unprecedented, all of us working together to push that straight Democratic ticket. I'm excited about this group. I'm excited about the opportunity. And for the listening audience, we did get a chance to hear our amazing Congresswoman who holds it down for us in Washington, D.C. She's in the majority party right now in the House of Representatives. The Senate is also a majority Democrat, and hopefully we can hold those things. But it's a very, very different story in Alabama, in the state legislature. We have 140 members in the Alabama state legislature.
Okay.
Only 37 Democrats. You did not hear me wrong. 140 members of the Alabama legislature. Only 37 Democrats and only 35 Black folks.
Oh, wait.
So we only got 2 white Democrats left after redistricting in 2010.
Wow.
So when it comes to any issue, y'all, we got to hold it down. It's very different again than what's going on in Washington, D.C., where our Congresswoman is a member of the majority party. In order to get anything passed, you have to be able to work across the aisle with some folks. And there are different tools that you can use in order to do that. But you never lose sight about who you're fighting for. And I'm fighting for Black folks.
Okay.
I mean, I am unapologetically Dr. Joe Reed, who, whatever some people may think about him, he for many years has been the voice of the Black organization when it comes to the Democratic Party. And one of the things he said to me, I was speaking one time in Tuscaloosa. I'm originally from Tuscaloosa. And I was speaking to the Tuscaloosa ADC, and he was like, "Oh, you just you just black. I said, "I am. That's just who I am." But you know, circumstance will make you that. So I'm a military brat.
Okay.
So I grew up around all kinds of different people. My dad served, United States Air Force for 22 years. My mom is actually listening and pushing and telling people to listen.
That's what
today.
Mom was
She was an accountant by trade and a homemaker, and so I grew up in a very diverse situation. My high school was very diverse. Then I moved to Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
And then what happened?
In the 11th grade. But I thank God for it, because I was disillusioned about how the world worked on a military base. As long as your father, has some type of rank, you get you're
in
special.
This bubble.
Right, you're right. You're really in a bubble. Everybody, people love who they want to love. They go with whoever they want to go with. In a military setting, you see one of my neighbors. My neighbor had a Mexican mom and a Japanese American dad. Where do you see that?
Right.
But moving to Tuscaloosa shaped me to be able to do the work that I do now. And so in the 11th grade, I was real active with the NAACP and the SCLC. And former Senator Charles Steele, and I will be going to that body if the voters, vote me in. He invited me, because I'm all loud about all of this stuff, to come to an SCLC conference. But he said you have to get permission from the school. And I thought, no problem, because Dr. Rome was our principal at Central High at the time. Girls had been let out to go to beauty pageants, Kiwanis clubs, things, all kinds of things. But he knew what I did not know, that because I said SCLC, of course, I was not given that permission to have an excused absence like some of those other folks. So that circumstance changed my mindset. Okay, so maybe it's not like how it was on a military base. I ended up majoring and minoring in African American studies in college.
Oh, so it completely
changed who I am. So I'm much more militant, and the legislature will make you that.
Okay.
When you serve in a body, when you see discriminatory things happen, and you have to stand up for that. But I do believe this, because I stand up, and there are others that stand up. I'm not alone. But the Democrats are amazing in the Alabama legislature. People respect you for it as well.
Yeah.
They may disagree with you when it comes to ideology, but they respect you for standing up on what you believe. And I always want to stand up and act as if I have political courage. When I get to the point that I can't stand up for the people that I represent, it's time for me to go home.
Oh,
send me home.
You just said so much there, and that is what we need as individuals who are not politically involved that way. We need somebody to represent us that understands those issues, that has had experience and exposure to be able to catch game. You're trying to run game. No, we're going to catch. We're going to vote that down. We're going to change that. So to be in those political processes, we have to have people who get it. So I'm really glad that you broke that down about how you got it.
And how I got to be there myself.
Yeah.
But then the most discrimination I've ever felt has actually been as a member of the Alabama legislature, not like in regular life. It has been being in the minority and seeing bills being passed that are about protest that the Republicans call riots.
I remember.
I have had to experience levels of microaggression. I was talking about a particular bill last session, and one of the white female legislators, and I didn't even see it. She tried to mock me on the floor of the House of Representatives. Something I said, she wanted to come back and mock me, because I wanted to make sure people were recording what I said.
Yeah.
And she came back, and I hope you recorded that. It was actually a Republican woman that sent me, did you hear Charlotte? And she's that's her name, Charlotte Meadows. And I didn't hear it. And then folks start telling me about what happened. And so I had to, get on the microphone, and somebody did record this. And I just let her know she didn't want this smoke on that day.
Okay. Well, look, I want
that one.
I want some good smoke when we come back. We're gonna take a quick break. That's the energy that we need. And that's what we need. So when we come back, we're gonna talk more with our soon-to-be
Senator for the Senate District 19, Western Jefferson County,
Marika Coleman. I like, say who you are, say what you're going to do, and we'll be right back so you can learn more. I also have my friend back in studio. I hope y'all listened to Vital last night. We gave you a lot of information, and we'll do that again today, right here in the Think Tank on V94.9 WATV. We'll be right back.
So I have to, and I know y'all want me to talk
And we're back. Welcome. Tara, get your turn all the way down.
I'm one of those people.
It's okay. So yeah, the whole crew, the political crew is in the building. It's a pep rally today. I've been referring to these shows, Vital, the Day Part show that I do, the Feng Shui, all of those are pep rallies. We're getting you excited for the election that is taking place tomorrow. Voting day is tomorrow, Tuesday. Top of the morning, 7 a.m. When you get your coffee, the next thing you do is walk out the door and go vote.
That's right. That's it right there.
Whatever your morning routine is, insert that tomorrow. So in studio right now, I have two sisters with me who are just sharing. We are sharing as people who are part of the political process because we are voters. We are sharing as people who are concerned about you and what you understand about the political process, what's on the ballot tomorrow, and making sure that you understand just everything that there is to know. A lot of people have been asking about the amendments, and on yesterday we did a very thorough job of all 10. I was really excited and proud of the way we did that. It was let me tell you, it was so dope the way it went down because the language. You know, the way we talk, we got to talk. So, hey, this is what this is. This means this. This doesn't mean that. This does not pertain to you, but yes or no. And then we explained why. So that way nobody would have any questions. So get your pens and paper out. If you have a sample ballot or a booklet or anything like that, go ahead and get it because it is legal for you to have that documentation with you when you go tomorrow. So don't think that it's not
correct.
Yeah, like you can have it with you. This is not pop quiz. Like how, we give our students tests and stuff. It ain't that. Nobody's going to put you out for looking at your cheat sheet. This is yours. So, all right, let's get to it. You were giving us a whole lot, Sister Marika, about just your personal experience with politics and like how you've been serving. How long have you been serving?
20 years. Can you believe that? 20 years. 20 years. I was 28 years old when I was first elected.
Okay.
And so I'm actually going into the 21st year. So it's 28, turned 29. And I'm 49 years old now. It is.
So you have grown up in your work.
Up. My children, they are the district's children. They've watched them grow up. My daughter now is 24 years old. She'll be 25 next month.
Okay, girl.
My son is 22. And let me tell y'all how real I am. When I had my head down during the break, I had to cash out my son some money, just like the rest of you.
Right, like I am you.
He called me. I'm on the radio. Mom, I need $20 for gas right now.
Golly.
Can you send me $20?
Hey,
look, but that's all he asked for was $20.
And that's all you saying.
It's all good. But I think that my experience, just as far as the military and then getting that exposure about the inequities that were going on in Tuscaloosa and nationally, they were happening everywhere. But also being a young mother at the time when I first was elected. Remember, they were 4 and 2 years old. So I got a chance to give another perspective. How does it impact people? I was making $32,000 a year, which is so sad that even today, 20 years later, $32,000 a year is still like the going rate for somebody with a master's degree. But girl,
look, tell me about it. I tell you about it. I
had this master's degree. I had this young family. And so I could give a new perspective. My daycare bill was over $700 a month for the two of them. So I could give that perspective, how much groceries cost. And so you need those different voices in elected office. So when they have pieces of legislation, it's real people involved. It's real lives.
Yes.
And oftentimes in the Alabama legislature, I gave you the numbers before the break, 140 members,
and
only 37 Democrats, 35 Black people. Very few of us that are under 40 years old.
Yeah.
And as far as women under 50 years old. And as far as women in the House, there are only 2 women in the House of Representatives that are under 50. 2 women, a few guys that are, I don't think we have anybody now that's under 30 that's serving.
See.
And so, not having that young person perspective, you lose sight of it if you don't have people talking about how these issues impact them.
Look, and that is a thought for me. That's kind of what we were talking about last night. The Vital platform is a bit different because we speak to that demographic.
Right.
And I'm thinking like at my age, I'm very young.
You are. I told you you're not an auntie.
Young.
I'm an auntie.
Very young, but super seasoned. So when I'm in these gaps, I see the need for conversations like what we have on a regular basis with our constituents about these different things. And I'm like, dang, our voice is really missing. These old white men don't know what I know about my experience at all.
Oh, and as a woman, let me tell you something that happened on the floor of the House of Representatives. we were talking about, we had an abortion debate.
Okay.
Right. I've had two things happen to me. One time we're having an abortion debate. I'm on the microphone, or in what we refer to as the well, and a man tried to explain to me what it felt like to be pregnant. I did not. He did. Could not
How
believe.
did
He
he
tried.
start
Well, you know,
that?
of course, I tried.
How does that even go?
I don't even know how he thought he could explain that to me.
Sir,
the
what are
mother
you
of
saying?
children. What do you want to do? Come on now, sit down. But the other thing that happened to me last session, I introduced the amendment to have to exclude rape and incest.
Yeah.
When it comes to the new abortion law. We knew it was going to pass, but I had the amendment, and that amendment failed.
Like, quite sensibly, that should be,
those should be exceptions.
period.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a Republican to walk up to my desk with his cowboy boots on to say, "Hey, Marika," because we do refer to each other by first names.
Yeah.
"Hey, Marika, I would have supported your amendment if it would have just been rape. But who am I to say anything about kissing cousins?" That man serves in the Alabama House of Representatives.
Who am I to say anything about it?
About kissing cousins. Number one, you don't understand the full concept of what incest is.
And the dynamics of that ain't just what it is, sir.
That's exactly right. But that failed in the body that I serve in.
So these are the people that represent alongside you, that if we don't vote, we can continue to see that and see their grandsons and granddaughters and great grandsons and granddaughters. And this cycle will continue.
Many of them are legacies.
Yeah, man, that's kind of scary.
So but I will say, every now and then, especially on economic development, we have the opportunity to come together on economic development. Everybody wants to be able to bring new jobs and opportunities. We normally get a chance to do that. But on my effort, along with my colleagues, to remove the racist language from the Alabama State Constitution.
Yes, I think we talked about that
the last time I was here. We got a chance to do that. We did it unanimously. So this morning I was on a whole nother station.
Okay.
And a lady called in and she said, the only way that you were able to do that is because you were in the bed with the Republicans. Oh. Right. So number one is 2022, and we need to change our language. Now, her brother had called in the week before to say that I was being pimped.
Oh my God.
Yes, her brother called in and said that I was being pimped by Jabbo Wagner, who is one of the senior members and a Republican man in the Senate. So I don't serve, dear, in the Senate, and nobody pimps me.
Yeah.
So I did, I commented about that. We got to change our language, especially for a Black man referring to a Black woman in that vein. But I'm not going to accept that from a Black woman either.
Nobody.
I ain't getting in the bed with
that's not what
nobody
it is.
when it comes to politics. I have 3 jobs.
Yeah.
3.
I got
my mom that's listening sometimes, she sends me these inspirational messages every morning. She says, "You don't respond." I'm like, "Mama, I'm at work." I got 3 jobs.
Yeah, always.
All the time. Nobody can pimp me, and I'm not in the bed with anybody when it comes to politics. Come on. And so we got to change our language when we refer
the thought
to
process
each other.
of that. The thought process that, well, this clique, they do this and they do this. So I understand that circles of people who are like-minded and have similar ideas may be together on certain things. But if I vote for you, I vote for you individually.
Yeah.
So I expect you to represent me individually.
Thank
if you're influenced, I'm going to ask, hey, so tell me about the political influence, the backing, that, the people that you may work with closely. I want to know about them. Those are the type.
Right.
Would you prefer to hear it that way?
Well, no. First of all, let me say this. I don't have an issue. I'm an elected official.
Okay.
I deserve scrutiny. I mean, we open ourselves to scrutiny when we run for office.
Yeah,
we do.
You do.
I have to be accountable to my constituency. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we ought to do better about each other. That's all I'm saying. I mean, as Black people, we just ought to be. We ought to do better and speak a different language. I just told you all, in order for any bill to pass in the House that's not a constitutional amendment, you need 51 votes. It's only 27 Black people. In order to get anything passed, you're going to have some votes on the other side of the aisle. There are also times when they need us because they're so splintered. There's so many of them. That Freedom Caucus group, them Trumpers, they don't like anybody, including other Republicans. So there are times when each one needs other folks. And so you have to develop those types of relationships, but still stand on what you believe in.
All right.
So that's why I was offended by the statement altogether, because I'm a big voice in Montgomery. Everybody that knows me, even knows me personally, I can't be manipulated by anybody.
Come on now.
So if I'm getting in trouble, it's because even when I was young, if I was getting in trouble, my my parents knew I was the ringleader in getting in trouble.
You are not about to manipulate me. I'm not a follower. Okay.
I wasn't following anybody else. I just got in trouble.
Yeah. You own it.
And I own it.
Hey, let me tell you.
100%.
I got somebody over here saying I sent out a text saying you'll be explaining the amendments. We're waiting on that.
Keep waiting. All right. Let's
keep waiting because this is the pep rally. We are turning people. We got 2 hours.
Yeah, we do have 2 hours.
And we want you all to be informed and be encouraged on all of it. The amendments are very important, but also getting to know people, like getting to know who's in Montgomery, who's in DC. Sure. That's important.
Sure.
So these are the conversations that help us to do that. So we come and just hang tight. What's up, Sister Renita Stuckey Hill? Good evening to you as well. And there are other questions that are coming in that we can chat about as well. So we will get to all of your questions, all of your comments. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you for tuning in and for watching and for posting your comments. Hold tight. Text them back. Tell them we comment. I promise you we're coming. All right. So good people vote. Tyra is back in the building. Thank you so much. Look, the way that this happens, Sister Coleman, the way that this happens is like a boom, boom, quick text. Can you or can't you? And normally it's like, can you or can you? And it was the capital can you shoot through and just share some of the stuff that we talked about yesterday, the way that we did. Joy Travis was in as well.
Yes.
And it was a very vital conversation. So I figured that we could do that again the same way today about these amendments. Tyra, before we get into that, tell us about Good People Vote, how it started. Just pull it around to you.
Okay. I had to turn my camera off.
Oh.
I was the one that was echoing.
Oh, all you had to do is turn it down, but it's cool. It's cool.
Come right here if people want to be able to see
y'all can swing, both swing right here to the side. See side by side. Okay. Swing side by side. Tell us about, okay. Tell us about Good People Vote.
Hello.
Hello. So 2 years ago today is when this all started for you, right?
Yes, this started in 2020.
Get in the mic.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You're good.
So yeah, this started in 2020. Really just as a passion project. My heart is in graphic design, but I wanted to do something so that people could, make sure that they felt celebrated during the pandemic. And so, with that, we decided to. I'm in there.
There we go.
Look at y'all.
With that, I was pacing around my apartment. I was like, there's a lot of voter suppression that's going on. There's a lot of laws being passed that are unfair. So if you do go out and vote in person during this weird time during the pandemic, no one knew what was going on.
Right.
You deserve to be celebrated. And so with that, we celebrated voters at 6th Avenue Baptist Church. And a lot of people there was just asking me, when are we going to do this again?
Yeah.
So
and that's how a movement starts. Hey, I use my own experience to push others. So that's what we're doing. I'm so glad you came back today and that you were available to be able to share to get us ready for tomorrow.
Yes.
So for all of you who have been waiting again on these amendments, I too share the same sentiments. But after last night, that is the type breakdown that we need all the time. So let's get to it today, ladies.
Sure.
Y'all gonna swing this mic and we're just gonna chat. The first amendment that we are looking at.
Well, the first one is the Constitution.
The ratification.
The whole. Oh, and I dogged the Constitution. I said this thing's so long.
It is.
How am I gonna flip through 2,572 million pages and find amendments? But somebody's got to do it.
Just a little bit. So actually, this is what I sponsored.
Yes,
I sponsored the ratification of the 1901 Constitution. And so when you think about what was going on in 1901,
right?
The forefathers of the state of Alabama actually released their transcripts for they had a debate about it. Are we going to do the minority report or the majority report? Minority report would have been just a synopsis of what they did. The majority report was a full transcript. Their full transcript let us know that this 1901 Constitution was rooted in white supremacy. They meant to discriminate against Black people, other communities of color, and poor white people. That was their intent. So if we know that, there are some things in that Constitution when it comes to involuntary servitude, poll taxes that are still in there, and of course, lots of racial language that's in there. So Wu was telling me to get closer. And so we have the opportunity on the ballot tomorrow to vote yes on the ratification statement that removes racist language, puts all the economic development code together, and makes it a more user-friendly document itself.
Yes.
It was voted on unanimously by both houses, which is unheard of on this type of issue.
Yes.
The voters in 2020 gave us the ability to do that. Think about 2020.
Yeah.
People were marching the streets in Birmingham and all over
the world.
And some of my good colleagues had an opportunity to see some of this stuff because they were at home, watching the death of George Floyd unfold, the murder of George Floyd and others. And so, again, we were able to get it done unanimously in 2020 with the voters to give us permission to do it. Now you have the opportunity to ratify what we've done. And that's all that does. But it's huge.
Yeah.
Like literally last week, I had a station to come down to interview me from Canada that said how we did not just about this amendment. This ratification statement.
Yeah.
Not an amendment. It's before
ratification statement.
The ratification statement. You get an opportunity to ratify the 1901 Constitution. And if we do that, it will no longer be the 1901 Constitution. It will be the Alabama Constitution of 2022.
Okay.
And you all can do that.
Okay.
And so very proud of that work. I was the main sponsor. Senator Smitherman from Jefferson County also was the main sponsor in the Senate. We walked that thing hand in hand and we got it done. We just need to get you all to take us over the finish line. Now, there is a companion to the ratification statement. It is Amendment 10.
Okay.
So some people think that Amendment 10 is the one that removes racist language. That's not what it does. Amendment 10 simply says that once we ratify the new Constitution, the ratification statement before the amendments, there will also be some new amendments that will be passed.
Okay.
We will fold all of those new amendments into the new Constitution instead of on day one having 30 new amendments. Because statewide, there are 30 amendments from all around the counties and various counties.
That will be voted on tomorrow.
We only have 11 on our ballot.
Okay.
The 10 amendments plus one for Jefferson County.
Gotcha.
But there's other counties that have their own amendments also. So that's all Amendment 10 does. If we pass Amendment 10 without passing the ratification, we haven't done anything.
Okay, got it.
We need both.
So the first one is we're saying, yes, we need this to happen.
We need to say yes to ratifying the Alabama State Constitution of 2022.
Gotcha. All right.
So now, some people have asked the question. They said, does it go far enough? No, it does not. There are some things that are but it is a great start. Thank you for that. It's a great start for us to have some additional conversations about what needs to happen as it relates to women, as it relates to the LGBTQ plus community, the sanctity of marriage stuff that if you follow that, it's still in it. But it gives us the first step. And not to mention that a state constitution spells out your value system. It says who you are as a state. And right now, our Constitution says we racist. Now, do we have some racists in this state? Yes, Lord, we got some. But I don't believe that the majority of us are that. And it gives us the opportunity to prove to the rest of the world, because it's also an economic development tool. So we had the World Games here, and I was called to, Lionel Richie was the performer for the World Games.
Right.
Folks, we're trying to get another artist who had Alabama ties also.
Okay.
And that was Stevie Wonder. And one of the issues that he had was some of the negative comments that, folks have had nationally. We were trying to, let him know about what we were doing here with a resolution.
We ain't them.
But right. And so we didn't have that ability. He just had some trepidation. He was skittish.
Steve Lamar.
He was skittish. I mean, rightfully so. So this effort doesn't change hearts of minds. We still have work to do when it comes there. But it's a great first step. Thank you for that. And so that's the ratification statement and Amendment 10.
Okay. If you have questions, you can post them in the comments and we'll be sure to try to answer those questions according to what was just shared. I want to make sure that we're very clear about, this or that. Am I bubbling this or is this something separate? Basically, this is the first thing that you'll see on the amendments and it is a yes.
It's a yes. Right before the amendment.
All right. So then we get into the amendments. These are the things that, everybody's always questioning about. Like we know the people, we've seen them, they've been out, but the amendments, these are confusing. So let's jump into those. Ladies, be sure to talk directly in the mic when you start.
Yeah. And actually, our conversation yesterday inspired me to go ahead and make a post about the amendment. So if you go to Good People Vote on Instagram, we have a What Does It Mean post with all of the amendments and then stuff to think about, because we want you to, make sure that you have time to decide what you want.
I love it.
So yes, just to make sure you're not confused, the Constitution is not an amendment. And so when you do have your scorecards ready, and I hope you downloaded your scorecards on Good People Vote.
Yeah.
Or if you have your election guide, make sure you have a guide with you so that you won't get confused and you're just going off the top of your head and you're like, I'm confused. I don't know which amendment was which.
Right.
I think
so you can have a tangible document. Okay.
Because remember that these amendments will be in the language that we had to decode when you get there. So it's not going to be in the language that we're talking to you with right now. It's going to have some Shakespeare. It's going to say thine and die.
King James.
Right.
Look, so there is a question asked before we jump into the amendments. So are we voting yes on Amendment 1 and no on Amendment 10?
Okay.
That's the question.
So, that's a great question. All right. So we are voting yes on the ratification statement before the amendments. That's what's going to remove the racist language. We're also voting yes on Amendment 10.
Okay.
Which is a companion. It goes with the ratification statement.
Gotcha.
The person did ask the question about Amendment 1. What is your recommendation from your organization on Amendment 1, though? No. Okay. So Amendment 1, which a lot of Black organizations are not supporting, and my people told me, Marika, quit talking about it. Quit talking about Amendment 1 because Black folks are not supporting it. Here is the issue. Now, and I get why other people are not supporting Amendment 1. It does say Anaya's law.
Yeah.
And Anaya's stepmother is my cousin, Yeshiba Blanchard. Her husband is Elijah Blanchard.
Okay.
Anaya's father. So this was personal to me. I actually was in a wedding with Anaya. The 10-year what do you call it after 10 years? Rededication, renewal of vows.
That
I was with Anaya. We were in a wedding together in August. And then she went missing in October. And so it's a little bit more personal to me. Again, my team keeps saying, quit talking about it, Marika, quit talking about it. But I just want to be truthful about it.
Yeah.
I'm saying yes on it because what happened in Anaya's case was that her killer, her murderer, was out on bond after kidnapping someone else. Right. And so we believe that there's a possibility she would still be alive. But I want to be laid all the way.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. I get why people are voting no.
Right.
In Jefferson County, we are protected.
Okay.
We have 2 Black DAs, and most of our judges are Black in Jefferson County now. That is not the case in most counties in this state. That's why Black organizations are voting no, and I get it.
And thank you so much. So thank you for making it personal. That's the other thing about politics. These things affect those who write them, who are a part of them as well. So it's not always just, I'm just going to write this because no. A lot of times it's personal. So therefore, you do still have to make your own decision on how you vote. These type segments are to inform you on other facts that we may not be privy to or that we may need clarity on, but you still make your own decision. Now, with you saying that about why you're voting yes, others may say no this time. And hey, go back and ratify, write it different, change some things up because whereas we're protected right now, we may not always be protected in Jefferson County either. If people don't vote, it's going to be more of the same when it comes to bail and bond and all those things. So that's a heartstring vote.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Amendment 1 would add to the list of charges that would make someone unable to receive bail, and this includes murder and rape, but also robbery and burglary. This would keep someone without yet being proven guilty in jail before their trial. And so, if you look on the post, here's some things to think about. What if the suspect is innocent? Does it violate the right to due process? And what demographic would it affect the most? Do we have proper humane conditions for detained individuals at this time? So that's a lot of
so many different pieces
to think about. And you get to decide what's important to you, and just think about that. Do we have the infrastructure to detain people humanely?
All right. So all of that plays into how you vote with these particular amendments. But because it's so many parts, that means that you have all night to sleep on it to really think about how you want to vote on that particular one. We are at the top of the final hour. So we got time. We do. 3 minutes left in this bottom portion of the first half of the Think Tank. I am Lady Wu. Have some intelligent well-versed ladies in studio. Ladies, introduce yourselves. Tell them who you are and what you represent.
Tyra Robinson from Good People Vote. We're trying to change the culture of voting. We want to make it understandable, relatable, and something that you feel is important to you because it is.
And I am currently State Representative Marika Coleman until 12 a.m. tomorrow night. But I'm the Democratic nominee for State Senate District 19. And with your help, I will be the senator for State Senate District 19.
All right. So that is who we have in studio joining us today, giving us this vital information. Hopefully you're taking notes. We're going to keep it moving. Start this next hour right now.
Let's see what your recommendation is on too. Yeah. So most of the organizations and folks are saying yes. I only saw one group that said no on Amendment 2.
And this is, I think it was the Greater Birmingham Ministries.
That's it. That's who
it was. It was because of the private. So
that's for the portion of it. Yeah. You're right.
So it depends on people, like whether they matter if it was given to private entities, because it could.
We are straight back to these amendments. If you're just joining us, welcome in on your commute home tomorrow night around this time. What is it? 5:02. It seems to be so much later.
Well, not to me.
Oh, because you've been running. Look, I'm adjusting to this time.
10 minutes.
Girl, like I be here every day all the time. So it's kind of like, wow, what time is it now? But we are in the second hour. So this is where you're going to get this vital information once and for all before you hit the polls, with all the information that you need about each amendment, just some things to think about and some pages to join. Good People Vote is in the building, and people are asking right now, is it on Facebook also or just Instagram? And it's the Good People Vote post on the amendments on Facebook also or just on Instagram. So on Facebook as well, Good People Vote. Yeah, so
but
go ahead.
There's fun things on Instagram.
Okay, so follow both, right?
Shameful plug.
Go like the Facebook page and also follow the Instagram page to get all things good and good people. All right, so we are moving on down the amendments. The first one is a heartstrings vote. You're going to have to sleep on it tonight and make your own decision on that. But you think about the future. So like we are always proactive. And then in some of these cases, like with the Constitution, we are reactive. We're reacting to something that was way before our time.
That's right.
That like they probably didn't even know we would ever exist. But hey, we're here. And now we're going to say something about it. So
well, they intended for us not to be. They intended for me not to be sitting here.
Okay, right.
That was their intention.
Black girls on the radio doing their thing, talking about this stuff. Yeah, we're talking about this stuff. Yes, and we are. So moving right along with the amendments, I think we were on number 2. Number two is...
So we were talking in the break. Sometime I wish people could kind of really hear what we're talking about. I'm so proud of this young lady. Number 2, I'm voting yes. Most people are voting yes. One of the organizations that I actually serve as an emeritus member, a board member on, is said no. And this is about broadband infrastructure.
Yeah.
But I'm saying yes because rural Alabama, just like urban Alabama, needs access to broadband. I mean, when we talk about the digital divide, it disproportionately impacts low-income folks in the urban city and also rural areas. And we need them folks, the folks, especially in rural Alabama, like the man that had the cowboy boots, to be connected to the rest of the world.
Internet.
You know, to be connected to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But here is the rub for GBM. So I'm voting yes. Most organizations are voting yes. But there's a portion in there that says that the incentive can go to public or private.
Right.
And so here's my thing, though. There are some places in the state of Alabama, but there might not be a public entity to be able to offer the service.
So okay, because we didn't talk about that part. What we talked about more so was like, hey, Dana Woodruff Enterprises, we're going to give you $50 million to provide broadband, and I say, yeah, I'm going to do $10 million, and $40 million I'm going to go on some cruises. Because I mean, y'all told me I could, right? It could happen if you give it to the wrong people or whatever. So when you say the right people in place to be able to provide these services, what are some of those type businesses or what?
So you just put something else. I used to do economic development some years ago, but you just jogged something in my brain about what we need to do as far as legislative oversight.
Okay.
Because I didn't hear that from what you just said from yesterday.
Yeah.
Probably what we need to go back and do, say this does pass. What we need to go back and say is that we need to add a clawback clause. And a clawback clause is because, I mean, you have public-private partnerships all the time in economic development, and that's what this is too. But a clawback clause is when they don't use the money in the manner that they were supposed to, they have to give that money back to the government entity that gave it to them. So that is, thank you for that. That's something that we need to go back and fix if it's not already in there. And I'm just not sure if it is or not, if a clawback clause is in there or not. But definitely there needs to be some type of oversight if it goes to a private entity to make sure indeed somebody is not cruising and driving and flexing or whatever off the government money.
Out here.
Thank you for that.
Sure. Yeah.
Did you have something else you wanted to add on to?
Yeah, it's just, with anything, I think a lot of people are kind of unsure about private entities because we hear, the terms of corporations and, what if those funds are allocated disproportionately and we just don't know. We're already trying to decode the amendments as it is. And so when we're talking about the funds being given to a private entity, will that cause some type of, hey, we tried to give this internet access to these people, but it's taking longer than expected. We don't know why. We don't know how. We don't know who.
Like, hey, y'all stop playing with us.
That's the oversight.
Just saying.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go back and look. I've got to go back and
to see if that's the thing.
If not, we need to right that wrong to make sure that that's in there.
So thank you for hearing us on that.
Yes.
And I guess Ava heard us too. She says, I think they're going to give the contracts to the good old boys.
Well, it is Alabama.
I'm riding on my horse here with these internet boxes. Okay. All right, y'all. All right, let's go. Let's keep going. So are we saying yes or no to that? They deserve it. They need it.
I'm saying yes with trepidation, with a side eye, that the legislature needs to go back and make sure that they have some oversight if it goes to a private entity.
Gotcha.
Yes,
all right.
With a side eye. We should have had some type of, props here. Yes, with the side
eye. A straight, we with it. So yeah, if you're watching, you definitely see all the action. You see the theatrics to help you know, okay, that one is a yes. That one is a
yes. What I'm watching.
Yeah. We're gonna go and say yes, but let it be some problems. Oversight, call vital.
All right. That's right.
So number 3
and 4 are more definite no's for me. So, unfortunately, some of the groups have on there, because we, of course, we have all of these ballots for various groups. The only one that folks are saying no on is Anaya, but number 3 and 4 are horrible. I get 3 and 4 mixed up. 3 is the one that takes away. Let me make sure it takes away the ability of the governor on a commutation. Okay, good. So so on a commutation, if the governor wanted to commute a sentence from the death penalty to life in prison,
right,
it takes that ability away from that executive officer. Number one, we've only had one commutation in the history of the state of Alabama,
and we learned that was like right at 5 James.
Come on now,
at the end of his.
But what it's really about is the Republican kind of tough on crime. We're not gonna let anybody get away with anything. But for us that are elected, it takes power away from one position and gives it to another. So I'm going to be against that, because if we start doing that, then you might say, we don't want the Secretary of State to do that, which is number 4. 4 is another one of those where they're trying to change power. So I'm a 100% no on number 3. Did you want to add anything on why you're a no on 3?
Yeah, and just as a reference, so Amendment 3 will require the governor to provide notice to the Attorney General and to the victim's family before granting a change or cancellation of a death sentence. But if the governor fails to provide notice, this would void that change or cancellation in death sentence. So some things to think about. How does this amendment make it more challenging to cancel a death penalty sentence? And what if the attempt to contact the family failed?
Yes.
So, what if the family didn't have a source of contact, or the governor said, hey, I tried to contact you. Your family member was going to be, just have life, but now they did. It's not needed. There's no,
like we said, it's a courtesy.
It's a courtesy.
Okay.
A courtesy doesn't have to be law.
Okay.
And so I go back and forth about talking about the death penalty anyway. It's one of those very divisive issues when it comes to people's ideology.
Yeah.
I had an uncle that was murdered by a woman in the back of my grandmother's home. My grandmother had a great uncle. My grandmother had to watch her brother died. She got him in the jugular vein. And so I don't ever tell people my actual position on the death penalty, because then they try to hold me to it.
Yeah.
Because I have sponsored legislation for a death penalty moratorium, that we need to stop it for 3 years in our state, make sure that it doesn't disproportionately impact other communities over others. So now, in theory, what we think is that Black folks and poor people are disproportionately given the life given the death penalty over the life sentence. And I have not been able to get that passed, even when Democrats were in control.
Is it because it's one of those, hey, we don't want to, it's really touchy?
Yep, because actually when the Democrats had control, there are different layers of Democrats or different types. There were some more progressive, and we had some very conservative Democrats at the leadership role prior to 2010. I would even say some of them might even vote with some of the Republicans, right? So it was hard to get it passed even. So I've been in the minority party my whole time because I'm a member of the Black Caucus. So we've been in the minority. So that's kind of some of the challenge. So why would we even do this right now anyway? When it really has, there's no real sum effect when we're not community citizens anyway. So that's a no for me.
Yeah, like what are we
like why?
Why? So,
It's one of those times when I've stood in the well of the Alabama legislature and said, this piece of legislation is not worth the cost of the paper that it's written on because it doesn't do anything.
So whoever wrote it, like that's the question. So why did you feel this was necessary?
Yeah, why did you write it, and what are you prepping for? What are you prepping for? What does this mean?
What is this? All right, so y'all got the answer. Yeah, like side eyes. What is this about? All right, so you're being educated in such a way. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. We'll open the phone lines up as soon as we get to number 1 so that you can ask your questions on air. Let's keep it moving, ladies. So we said 3 and 4 no.
3 and 4 no. 4 also takes the ability away from the Secretary of State 6 months prior to an election to make any changes. Oh, I'll tell you what it's about.
Yes,
so 6 months prior to an election, it forbids, for lack of putting it any other way, the Secretary of State from changing anything. Go back to 2020. The election is in November. If you count back 6 months, that's at the time. That's at the height of COVID. So the Secretary of State made changes to how we voted to accommodate COVID. We had Saturday votings. We had some semblance of a curbside voting, not quite. But there were different provisions. We had a longer time to do absentee ballots.
Right.
And
so
more
accessible.
It was more accessible. Thank you for that.
So basically y'all ain't sick no more, so that's enough. Okay.
That we use to get out the vote overwhelmingly in Jefferson County. The Republicans are doing just like in Georgia, trying to take it away. Our Saturday voting. So in the Birmingham division, Representative Rolanda Hollis, Sheila Tyson, they led the effort for Saturday voting in the Birmingham division. I, along with our circuit clerk, Karen Dunn Burks, we led the effort for Saturday voting in the Bessemer cutoff. And I want you to listen to these numbers. In the Bessemer cutoff alone, we had 11,000 in-person absentees. In contrast, we got some numbers the other day. We've only had 1,400 absentees this election cycle.
Right.
It was Saturday voting and other accessible ways that people had to vote during the pandemic that drove voter engagement up. Republicans don't want to drive voter engagement up.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm an overwhelming no to amendment number 4, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, we don't need any more barriers or just we don't need anything else to keep us from voting. Right. And like you said earlier, we were talking about the influence of the younger voters or younger voices saying that, hey, it's so much technology out there, so many other advancements that we've come across that would help us to vote.
Right.
And to make people be more energized about it. But y'all want to keep it seven to 7.
Elections should be a national holiday.
I would think it should
where
be.
We have the opportunity for everybody to vote. I mean, in a democracy, you should want the most amount of people. And as you see, I have air quotes. They can see the listening on air quote. The democracy, you would want more people to come out and vote.
All right.
But what Republicans are seeing is that the more people that come out to vote, they don't get elected. So, they want to make it harder for people to vote, not easier for people to vote. So that's why I'm a no on amendment 4.
All right. You got it. All right. So we are continuing to move down the list. What is number 5 looking like for us?
Okay. So Amendment 5 removes the provision from the Alabama Constitution that gives county probate courts jurisdiction over orphan businesses. County probate courts would continue to be responsible for adoptions, guardianships, and granting letters of testimony. So here's some things to think about. Do you want the county probate court to be responsible for adoptions, guardianships, and granting letters of testimony?
Well, they testamentary, but they are now.
They are.
It's the orphan portion of it that is kind of changing the terminology.
The
language is the most of what it is, and so most folks are saying yes on that, just because it's more about updating the terminology than anything. But when it comes to the adoptions right now, probate court already deals with. I mean, I've been through that process. They already deal with adoptions. When it comes to and what they're talking about is wills and that comes through probate already. But the major portion is updating that language when it comes to the orphans.
And so, because we even talked into
a
family court piece. Like we were talking about that yesterday as well. Like, well, okay, so is it that we want the business to be in one place? But then again, when people vote on things that they have no knowledge of, like who you said that you've experienced. I know a couple of people that have experienced those type things, but I don't have any input in. I don't know nothing about that. So what?
And that's one. And saying if you don't want to have any, if it's not anything that you think will impact you, leave it blank. There's nothing that says that you have to vote on every last one of these amendments.
Yeah, see, that's the thing where, when you go vote, you feel like it's a test.
I have to
do
it
all. Bubble in everything.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be void. My ballot's going to be void if not all the circles are filled in because that's how it was when we were in school.
Right. Like I got to get a 100 or I at least got to try. If you don't try, you fail. But no, that's not what this is. Bobby said the terminology is crazy. So yes, it's the terminology in a lot of these things. It really just what are you asking? And what are you asking for? Who are we voting for? So is that a heartstrings one as well?
I mean, to me, it's to me personally. I mean, I practice in. I didn't say that I'm a lawyer, but I am. But I practice in probate and in family court. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's a yes, just for updating the terminology.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will take that from you because you see it and you understand it. So we want to update the terminology, and then just thinking like when I think about voting, I may not be in that situation or position today, but I could very well be in that position or situation tomorrow, or my relatives or my friends could be. So let me vote for what makes sense. Thinking forward. All right. So you got your answer on that one. Let's move on to number 6.
Okay. So this allows any city that previously had a special property tax to pay for debts and capital improvements with said taxes.
Yeah. Keep going.
So things to think about. Do you want cities to have more options regarding how they pay for debts and capital improvements?
And so I would say yes.
Right, right. We want to give them options. We want to make sure that they have what they need.
Yeah.
And they're, like, would you want someone to tell you how to spend your money?
And that happens all the time.
No.
So one of the challenges with our Alabama state constitution is we don't have something called home rule. Mm-hmm. And home rule is where the elected officials that are closer to the people have more ability to make those decisions. The 1901 Constitution was designed to centralize power in Montgomery. You got to think about 1901. These were rich white men.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to be the one to make all of the decisions. So they didn't want the counties or the cities to have the ability to do that. When I speak to people, sometimes and I talk about constitutional reform, I'm like, I represent 7 cities. I represent 1 county, 4 school boards. You're looking at a very powerful woman. Mm-hmm. And I say it and people laugh, but then I have to explain that there are some issues, especially when we're in Birmingham. People think that, Randall Whitford, and I love him to death. I do. Yeah. That he is the highest ranking official in Birmingham, and he actually is not. There are issues that he has to come to the Alabama legislature to get passed in order for it to happen for his city.
Yeah.
That the city council has to come for us to get passed for their city. I actually don't even live in Birmingham. I live in the city of Pleasant Grove. Mm-hmm. I got lots of family in Birmingham. That's where my mom and them from. Mm-hmm. My mama from Pratt City.
Turner.
Got to get my credit, from my hood.
That's where you get that from,
That's my credit. Pratt City, Nelson Avenue, right across from the library. Mm-hmm. On the Pratt City Library. But, the local municipalities should have more power and more ability to make the decisions. But they do it with the vote of the people. In many situations, you have your town hall meetings, you get support. For example, I passed a bill for this a special. It's in there like a special tax for Midfield City Schools.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. They had to come to me in the legislature. Again, I don't live in Midfield. I used to, but I don't. The mayor had to come to me along with the council, and the senator at the time, Senator Priscilla Dunn, to get that done. Something is wrong with that. So that's why I'm a yes on that, to give them some more home rule.
Okay. Yeah. Home rule is the thing.
And I do want to, like, when you said the statement about Woodfin, this actually drove me to create Good People Vote, because we were voting early at the we were voting early in 2020, and the conditions there, they weren't taking the proper precautions for COVID. So everyone was inside. Everyone was like, we didn't have on mask, or we had on masks, but people were cramped together. They weren't 6 feet apart, and a lot of us, including me, was just like, who is in charge of this? And a lot of people were like, Mayor Woodfin is where's Woodfin? It was actually the Secretary of State.
Yeah, if 2020, that's the Secretary of State.
That was their responsibility, and so
knowing who's responsible for these complaints,
who's responsible, and we just have to understand and learn how the process works, because you see someone on TV, you think that they are the person who makes the decision, but it's not. We have to figure out who's saying no.
So I have a question though. On that note.
Yeah.
So if you have an issue with your grandmother or your mom and them or whoever have an issue with Social Security, their check is going to the wrong place. What elected official do you contact?
Well, we learned today that all federal needs go back to our Congresswoman.
That's it. But I get those calls too.
So that is why I think that is every time I talk to anybody that does something, hey, who are you and what do you do? What is this that you do in this position? Because look, I run the board, but don't call me about the sales because I don't sell.
Because you don't sell,
right?
That's it. But it happens to us all the time because people don't know. They may, somebody gave them the phone number. Somebody said it should have been your responsibility. Mayor Woodfin may also get calls too.
Yeah, I don't know.
About
you work
Social
there.
Security checks, but that's not in my lane. But I actually don't tell. If somebody called, I've had that happen. One of my constituents, she's passed on now. Somebody had diverted her check to Florida somewhere. So I didn't say, well, I'm sorry, that's not what I do. You need to call the Congresswoman's office. It is, let me help you and walk you through the process.
Right.
You do need to call Congresswoman Sewell's office. I gave the number. If you don't get a response right away, then get back with me. And of course, she did get a response right away, and they were able to help navigate that process. But I mean, when roads need to be paved on your city streets, do you call your state representative?
You said city streets, right?
Your city streets, do you call your state representative? What about the county streets?
I'm gonna go live, and whichever one of y'all get it first, I want you to handle it. Boom. Look, we got about 5 minutes. How many more amendments do we have? 4?
Oh, we
got 4 more? No, we don't. We're not rushing at all. So look.
So the answer was city street, city councilor, and county commissioner.
Whatever the word is.
But there it is.
But then the thing about that, I'm in the city of Birmingham, but I live in Jefferson County. So aren't my phone calls optional? I can pick and choose.
Well, you know what? I could say yes, and if that person directs you to the
right, y'all stop running me around.
Yes. So what are we on amendment? What now?
Are we on 7 or 6?
Hey, look, I promise you the listeners will know.
So
we're on 7.
All right.
Go ahead, start.
So let's do 7, and then we'll take some comments.
Okay, so Amendment 7 would clarify that Amendment 772 in the Constitution applies to all counties. Currently, the Amendment 772 says certain counties can spend public money to support economic development projects. So, some things to think about. Do you want to clarify the Amendment 772 to apply to all counties instead of some?
So it's another oversight one, but but the way that is written, you would have to be a lawyer to go and look and see what 772 is.
First of all, I would need to see how it's. You know where I'm going with this.
I had the GBM because they had a good explanation on it.
I want the whole book.
Pull that one up because 8 and 9 are kind of comparison, and we've already done 10. But I'll do it one more. 8 and 9 are very similar.
And look, I'm just thinking about how big the Constitution is. This is amendment what? 772.
772.
So there are
772.
978 amendments to the Alabama State Constitution. In contrast, there are only 27 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. We have the longest operational constitution in the world. In the world.
Craig. In the world, Craig. So look, how do we get out? y'all laughing, but I really want to see I want to see the document, and I want to flip through it.
Sure,
I want to find.
we have to do that at some point so you can see the full old code. I have it. I have one in my law office. The recompiled document, of course, is much smaller.
No, I want to see the first one with all the stuff in it. Cause what is this? What is this?
Ooh, so okay. What is GBM? What's the explanation on 7?
Okay. And GBM is Greater Birmingham Ministries. If you want to go and see the full election guide, and they have a summary of all of the candidates on there. Mm-hmm. And so if you are confused and you're like, okay, I don't know anything about the candidates, you can look up everything online, and then you can also go to Greater Birmingham Ministries, and they have a guide called Election 2022. Yes. And so for Amendment 7, this would clarify that Amendment 772 in the Constitution applies to all counties. Amendment 772 says counties can spend public money to support economic development projects. Previously, there was a legal confusion as to whether Amendment 772 also applied to counties who had passed local provisions for economic development, usually for specific projects. And so if you vote yes, this measure will help rural counties and smaller municipalities.
Okay. So we're looking at like Fairfield.
Just making sure that they have the same level of oversight and the ability as other areas. But boy.
I like this. So y'all just met today, right?
Yes.
I thank God for the gift that he gave to just this is just watching you all work and then looking at you act like a whole teacher over here. And mom, okay, come on with the next one. I just love it.
Bring us the next one in.
I just love it.
Look, y'all, in a few years, it's gonna be time for me to, because remember, I'm an auntie. This is my niece.
Uh-huh. So that's what I'm feeling.
It's gonna be time for me to go on to other things and allow some of these young people with young needs to get out here and do this work.
If you heard my knee pop,
no.
but seriously, like this is the type of engagement that I like to see as a moderator, as a facilitator when it comes to the Black media's role in these conversations. I can't say that political office is always the role that we need to play, because we need people to do this part of it, to give this platform. So I'm just really happy to see what I'm seeing, and then for our listeners to be able to get what they're getting from us.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. As we keep moving on down the line, ratification statement. I'm seeing some recaps. Thank you, Rico, for that. Right? Shout out, Lynn. Hey, thanks. What about the amendment for Jefferson County on the ballot? So we're going to get those questions in, Ava. We're going to make our way on down to the last ones. We have about a minute left, and we have 2 left, and then we have a second half.
Okay, so 8 and 9 are the same. So we could put those together, but they're just for different counties. So Amendment 8 and 9 allows for government oversight of private sewer companies and helps prevent those companies from exploiting their consumers and charging exorbitant rates. In Shelby County, which is 8, and for 9 it refers to Lakeview, which is Jefferson/Tuscaloosa County.
Yeah. So GBM's recommendation on 8 is if you don't live in Shelby County, don't vote on it at all.
Right, stay out our business.
It's because it's not our business.
Yeah.
That speaks to a whole nother issue of why we need constitutional reform across the board, because we shouldn't have to vote on something going on in Shelby County.
Yeah.
But 9 actually is a part of Senate District 19. Lakeview, the mayor there, who is the first African-American mayor they've had out there. And so he has really been fighting for his constituency because they have a sewer issue out there with lack of oversight. Mm-hmm. So 8 and 9 allow for oversight to where these entities have to be overseen by the Public Service Commission. I had to get my grammar together.
Yeah, because oversighted.
Overseen.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Those 8 and 9 to me are definitely yeses.
All right, y'all. So we'll be back. More information. We have a few more. Just to recap, we'll take your questions, calls, comments, feelings, thoughts, suggestions after this. It's B94.9 WATV.
And see, I feel like Amendment 9, that private company kind of references the other one with the internet.
I'm gonna tell you, they have been going through out there. I got a family that lives out there too. They're like, he just does what he wants to. So,
all right. So, yeah, that's really good, ladies. I am.
We vibing over here. We vibing
like this. So, When we come back, we'll take some calls and some comments.
What do you do in your everyday life?
So I work at an event company called Moss. They do like event design for big companies like Coachella and Google and LinkedIn. I just finished doing like a LinkedIn event and we design like the graphics. So I do that and then
this is your passion.
Y'all, we come back. When I tell you these people on this live, be ready. We can't hear. I just came back. Golly.
They ready.
The think tankers be so ready, baby. God, dog. But yeah, I'm excited, and I know you all are excited as well. So thank you so much for tuning in today and being as active as you are. All of the information that you've gotten today, share it. All of the information that you've heard today will be shared on our social media. You can find it on our Facebook page, on all of our social media is going to be shared. So you'll find all of these resources, the Greater Birmingham Ministries book, the Good People Vote amendment sheets, everything that you need, you will have. Trust me, I'm going to upload it as soon as we get off the air. It's a lot to do, talking and asking questions and working the computer. It's a lot, but I'm going to do it. I promise. Hold me to it. All right. So, because we want you to know, we got 3 more amendments, and we basically said that all of those were like kind of, these are basic ones. They're not really hard. Oh, one more? It's 10?
10 in Jefferson. Yeah.
10 in Jefferson County.
And just to clarify, 8 and 9 are the same.
That's what we said.
Yeah, they're the same amendments. They're just in different locations. But really, it sounds like these counties need our help to make sure that the funds that are being charged, or the rates that are being charged, they aren't being exploited. And so we want to support our counties. Even though we don't live there, we want to help them. So unless you don't want to help them, unless you have an enemy, unless you want them to suffer.
You over here living good. Hey, let me read some of these comments, and then we're gonna open the phone lines up. Rico, thank you. I love when people help. Rico said, hey, already done, Lady Woo. And then let me tell y'all what DB said. DB said, we can't hear what y'all talking about during the break, Woo. Y'all must be cutting somebody up pretty bad in those breaks. Not at all. We would never. We were being very vital. Ava, this amendment allows under certain conditions for a qualified taxpayer age 65 or over to claim a senior property tax exemption if they have lived on the property for at least 5 years. So we're going to get to that one about that one county amendment, because we did have a lot of conversation about that. And just, we did talk about that. Steve said, got my cheat sheet on the back of a long CVS receipt.
Okay, you can do that. Also, if you go to Good People Vote,
yeah, we get you a nice one.
If you go to Good People Vote, and you go to our freebies page, we actually have a candidate scorecards, and we have the amendments listed on there. So you can also score the candidates based on issues that you think are important. Look them up, rate them, and with whatever candidate has the highest score, then you vote for them.
There you go.
And then on the back, you will fold it into a booklet. If you go on Instagram, you'll see how you can fold up your scorecard, because we want to make it fun. We have the amendments listed there, and you will circle thumbs up or thumbs down, and you take that small, beautiful booklet with you on election day.
I'm taking the long receipt. All right, so
or if you want to,
comedy. All right, so we're gonna come to the comments again. Then the phone lines will be open. You are so welcome in sharing. We want to make sure that the information that is given out is accurate and vital, and it is. So once again, thanks to the ladies for sharing with me this evening. Got a little bit more to go. Got about 20 some minutes. So if you have any questions, think those up. And we're going to come back to those to close out today. We'll close out with you talking. The county amendment, age 65, property taxes, 5 years, that type thing.
Do we want to go for amendment 10? It's the last one?
Yeah. 10, of course, went with amendment 10 along with the ratification statement. Yeah, so we need yes on that one.
Okay.
To roll the new amendments that are passed during the 2020 election into the new recompiled document.
All right.
So Jefferson County Amendment 1. I cannot think of Gaynell Hendricks' title. What's her
tax
title?
Assessor? Is that right?
Is either assessor or collector. I'll get them mixed up.
They gonna tell us.
Somebody's gonna tell us. Right. She actually went on the radio. I got a call from her deputy, John Poe. Had no idea. No one talked to them about the overall impact of this bill.
Okay.
So what the intent? This was the intent, but sometimes bills have unintended consequences. The intent was all of these people who make 6 and 7 figures retire from wherever they live in New York, California, wherever, and they move to Alabama. But because they are 65 years old, and they get an automatic exemption on their property taxes. So the intent was to keep people from moving to the state just to get low property taxes. But because it also has the caveat that those who live here would have to wait 5 years, that's where the problem comes in. And so I was thinking yesterday about that. My dad is one of those people. He actually gets his exemption because he's a 100% disabled vet. But think about if and he's 71 years old. Mm-hmm. So he's had some health challenges of late, and his mobility is not, although he's wheelchair bound, he has less mobility now.
Yeah.
So say if we moved him where he's living in this house he's in now since 2011, but we needed to move him to a place that was more handicap equipped for him. And we moved him. Now we got to wait 5 years for him to be able to get the property tax exemption. So I think there's possibly an unintended consequence.
Yeah.
While they were trying to keep the people from out of state from getting the automatic exemption. So I think as of today, I'm a no on it because I don't want that to ultimately impact somebody,
right?
That's already living here. So what did you all end up doing with your scorecard?
Yeah, so and just to reference, this amendment authorizes a qualified taxpayer who is 65 or over to claim a senior property tax exemption under certain conditions if they have lived in the property for at least 5 years. And so some things to think about on this one is, what if older residents have not lived in these properties for 5 years? And how does this amendment benefit low or fixed income senior residents in gentrified areas? So there are two different tosses with this. If you've lived in your home for over 5 years, and let's say your neighborhood is not looking the same as it was, and you see that people are starting to gentrify.
They're around here walking dogs at 10.
Yeah, you see people jogging.
You know your neighborhood has changed.
Where are you going?
Start seeing them girls jogging.
Ma'am, do you know where you are? Yes, I know I am. We just gentrified it. Yeah. Marika, you should have been in here last night. Okay, we was like that thing.
Ooh, yeah. But to actually hear that the elected official that would have to administer this had not been contacted, and then her deputy asked the question to me, then how do we police this? What are we doing? Is somebody going to? I mean, how do you ultimately police it?
So I think a part of that gentrification conversation is one piece of it, but the other piece is if I'm 65, I'm 65 wherever I live, however long I've been there, right? Amen. So if I move in tomorrow, I'm still 65. Right. And guess what? I still want to pay whatever it is that I was paying. Yeah. That's fixed, that's locked in, or not, or nothing. Yeah. I've earned that because I'm 65. Yeah. If that's what I would think. So what does that sound like politically or legally?
So for me, again, I'm a no at this point.
Okay.
Because again, you hadn't consulted the elected official that would have to administer it. I know the intent was to keep, all of these mega rich people from moving into the state and getting an automatic exemption. That was the case, though, then we should have grandfathered in people in some way. That's another one of those unintended consequences. So I'm a no. Just got a text message too from one of my former colleagues, Representative Patricia Todd, to let me know that she's watching.
What else, sis?
Hey, sis.
So she's very vital. Like every Sunday, she tunes in. I appreciate that about us in this area. Like one thing for sure, when you think about the state of Alabama, like we may be the minority like that way, but when it comes to us supporting each other and making these lifelong relationships with people that care about the same things we care about, and we support each other, that makes my heart so warm.
Right.
That makes me really,
it does,
really soft and warm. It makes me feel so good to just see us together.
Today to talk to, and I'm glad Patricia is listening.
Yeah.
Today I was just riding in my car and flipping through stations, and then it said the Scott Beeson show, which is a former member, very conservative member of the Alabama legislature. I said, well, I want to see what Scott's talking about. Lo and behold, he was talking about the recompiling of the Alabama state constitution that's on the ballot. And so he asked his voters, why are they trying to change the language from the 13th Amendment? And that's what people don't even know that we're doing in this when it comes to involuntary servitude piece. So I called in, honey.
In 2022?
I called in. We had a good 20-minute debate. And so I left it with this. If you still think that Alabama should be in the position of the forefathers of 1901, don't vote for it. But if you believe we are now a 2022 Alabama where we should get rid of a constitution that's rooted in white supremacy, then vote yes. And so it was very interesting to have that dialogue. He actually texted me afterwards, and say, "You are a rock star, even when we disagree." But that's some piece that people don't know about. The removing racist language is also racist impact. So when we talk about poll taxes and indentured servitude, those were two provisions that disproportionately hit Black people that we will be changing with this new Alabama state constitution. So it doesn't go far enough. I mentioned earlier, as we were talking about it, that the sanctity of marriage stuff is still in there.
Yeah.
That means we got some more work to do to our Alabama state constitution.
I mean, 2022, almost 23 in a month, y'all. We'll be in a whole new year in like another month. And we're still having conversations about something that was written in 1901. That is really mind blowing to me. Yeah. Thank you, Rico, for sharing these numbers again. Shouts out to Joy Travis, who also sent the information. I'll post those phone numbers as well. If you have issues tomorrow, there will be poll watchers, poll people in the poll that are legally sound. They know what's up. They know how to tell you, hey, that's fine, you can do that, or hey, you need to stop doing that and come this way, or whatever. You can text 205-365-1779, 205-365-1779, and then the 1-800 number is 1-800-485-4767. That's the number that you can call. And there are also other numbers being shared in the comments. Any numbers, any resources that you get, share them with each other, share them on the live, share them all around. So yeah. What you got, Tara?
I wanted to also point out why this is very important. If you haven't kept up with like the increase of private prisons, and you link this to the amendments that we're talking about, indentured servitude in private prisons and the Aniah's law, like all of these things could possibly link together. And so if you think that it doesn't affect you now, in the future it will.
Yeah, you forward voting, forward thinking. Yeah. Comments. We're coming to you all now, either on the phone lines or on social media. If you want to call in, the number is 994-8949, 205-994-8949. I see the phone lines lighting up. Also, you can post them in the comments. So we'll be going back and forth, getting you in with us now. Let's go to the comments that are virtual first. What is number 7? What is number 7?
We got to go back to number 7. We got to go back and look at our own sheets.
Yeah, we had to pull our stuff 7 up. So while you got it?
Yeah, so number 7 would clarify the Amendment 772 in the Constitution applies to all counties. So this is to just make sure that this amendment is inclusive to all of the counties instead of some of the counties. And this will really support rural counties. And this will say that counties can spend public money to support economic development projects. So,
all right,
positive.
All right.
So we gotten some real good feedback too. My phone starts going off. Also, so I can't be in trouble. So my mother said, "I'm listening. You ladies did an excellent job in clarifying the amendments. I'm proud of you. Love with a kiss." Now my mother's in St. Louis.
Okay.
Not in Alabama.
Okay.
So she's in St. Louis. She says, she's in Castleville, Missouri. She said, "Quit telling people I'm in St. Louis."
Like, but Castleville. Who says that, Mama? Oh, Castleville.
Castleville.
Where's that? Thank you, Mom. Thank you to everybody. We really appreciate the feedback tonight, and we are doing this because it's vital to do it, and you're getting some great information. So more about the issues and about us, but we are doing what we're supposed to do, and we thank you all for receiving us on that. If you want a lottery, vote blue. When I tell y'all, Bobby been talking about this lottery since last night. I just sent a cash out. I want to be in the number.
Me too.
Okay, so the red, they don't want that.
Right. So
they want us to go spend the money elsewhere.
Right. So my uncle lives in Maryland. So we, my uncle Derek. Hey, shout out to my uncle Derek. He got our Powerball tickets. But at other times we've driven to the state line. $1.7 billion. Come on,
like why not try?
And so what has happened through the years? The devil has been in the details. A couple of Republicans actually have introduced some bills, but they've just been a blanket bill to say that we could have a lottery and casino gaming with no direction. My challenge there is I want to make sure that the money actually goes to education or to Medicaid.
Right.
We want to make sure that we don't have a lottery that, or even casino gaming, that is top heavy to where the majority of money is going to the administration of it, not to the actual prize and then where the money is supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some Republicans that support gaming. They did not want it on the ballot this time. Remember, I just mentioned the Scott Beeson show that I was on earlier today, all the way back when he was in a legislator. I'm talking about years ago.
Yeah.
He said if we had casino gaming on the ballot, the NAACP would be busting. And he used the word instead of, he called us Aborigines. You can Google it and look it up. Scott Beeson voting for a lottery, or you can look it up yourself. I believe the Republicans' fear was if we had gaming in any form or fashion on the ballot this time, it would drive Black folks up. They're coming out to vote and they will lose. We've been saying this over and over again. For them, they win when you have the least amount of people voting. So, yeah, there are some Republicans that do support it, but it has been Democrats through the years that have held up the bloodstained banner to try to get Medicaid supported and education supported through the years. The other piece, too, was the last form of the bill that we had was going to X out counties that already had gaming. Greene County, Lowndes County, they already have their own constitutional amendments.
Right.
And they were trying to limit the number of facilities you could have in your area.
In those places.
So they were going to close those places. Remember who I fight for now. So we were not going to, I wasn't going to support a piece of legislation that was going to keep the Black folks, that the Black owned places, from having the ability to compete.
Yeah. And it's so many layers to that too, because you think about the natives who have these different, that's a whole.
Well, they're on tribal land. So that's why that is federal land. It is not state land.
So we're going to do.
That's why they are able to have their big old casinos in Wetumpka and all those places, and they don't give any state dollars to that. We don't get state dollars from that. Now they do give to some charities. But if we had a compact, even with the natives, like Mississippi does, we could get a portion of that money to come to the state.
Okay.
And we have not been able to, and the Republicans have held those kinds of things up.
Yeah, I'm really starting to question a lot of mental processes when it comes to what we're just giving away, like just freely giving away, because we are in Alabama when it comes to from education all the way to the lottery, like all of these different things that we just see us just throwing away. You go somewhere else and do it. Babe, I'm going somewhere else to tend to anything else that ain't basic.
Right.
Because I have to.
Yeah. And that's why it's really important. If you are around someone that says that your vote doesn't matter, it's all rigged, then just politely smile at them and walk away. Because if your vote didn't matter, it wouldn't be reasons of people trying to fight it. And so, and even if you are confused about, like, if you see a candidate and you're like, oh, they're not giving me everything I want, or I'm not getting anything. If you're stuck on the side of the road, would you stay on the side of the road or would you go get a spare tire? And so this is a spare tire. You vote for your spare tire candidate to get you where you need to go and to keep, make sure that you are able to move forward, or at least to hold the base until you can get a better tire. But you don't want to stay on the side of the road, because either your car is going to get jacked and you're going to be left with nothing. Right? You don't want to be stuck. So just do what you can.
Let's vote. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you're in with the dream team.
Come on now.
Right here in the think tank. What's your question, comment, thoughts, feelings, suggestions, ideas too?
Hello.
So,
my name's Laverne, and I got half of this on my way home from work. So what I want to know is it on the website with her cheat sheet, her answer? Because I believe everything that she believed in, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember them once I get there to vote.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Everything will be posted on our social media to link you to those different resources. So myb949.com on all of our websites. I mean, all of our social media is B949. Mine is Lady Wu. You'll find it on all of those. So the same page that you're on, if you're watching, they'll be posted there. If you're listening, you can go to our website, go to our social media, go to my social media, Lady Wu or V949. And I'm going to share everything that we've discussed today. Caller, you're in with Lady Wu. and the think tank. What's up?
Okay, this Laverne. I got dropped.
Hey,
I don't...
hey, my bad.
Okay, but that's okay.
Did you hear
You
my
said
answer?
yes. I think I heard you say yes once
Okay.
I called back in. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Caller, you're in. What's your comment, question, thoughts, feelings?
Yes, I'm calling about Jefferson County Amendment number 1.
Turn your radio all the way down. Listen through your phone.
Okay, just a minute. Okay.
There you go. All right.
Yeah. Okay. I need some clarification because I thought that you got your exemption for your property tax exemption automatically years ago when you turn 65, but now they're asking for your income that's on your income tax. So it's not automatic.
Okay.
Because you're 65, right?
I think I heard what you were asking. You are correct. Even on my dad's form, because we have to fill his out, he gets a chance to skip the income portion because he's 100% disabled. I can't give you the exact number. I wish I could text Gaynell. I do believe that there was a change in the income. I do believe that. But please do not quote me on that. But I remember looking at his form and they did ask you your income. But the Jefferson County number 1 was supposed to try to prevent people who made these huge salaries from other states from coming in and getting automatic exemption. But I'm with you on it. I remember seeing that income piece on his form as well. I just don't, and maybe what we could do, Woo, is if I can find out from Gaynell Hendricks or Reverend Winston out there in the cutoff, you can post that as well.
Okay. Thank you. Just let us know. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, we just got a text saying it's not automatic. And I guess as far as
that's
like
what it is, that income piece.
Right. So further details, we'll try to get those posted. And then that's just for this conversation to have outside of the election, like just so people will know. Because I tell you, on my 65th birthday, if I ain't paying, I'm not paying. I want to know that I want to know that when I'm 64.
Right.
I want to know it today.
All the benefits you're gonna get.
Yeah, run it.
That's what I want.
Run it. I want it. All right. So more comments. You must go to the office to request tax exemption on your property, is what we're getting from some of the comments. So yeah, keep talking amongst yourselves and sharing that information with us, and we'll also do some research to see what the full tea is because we want to share what's vital and what's accurate. So we got 4 minutes, ladies. Before we get out of here, let's talk about what's really, 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 really important.
Yeah. So we have 4 minutes, and just in case somebody reported this, I actually do have some paid time on, so I'm gonna say this: go out and vote the straight Democratic ticket, and that's the way you get some amazing candidates from the sheriff to the Bessemer DA to all of these state representatives. I wish we could post that flyer too, that has all of these great candidates. Some people didn't have an opponent. Danny Carr is a part of it as well. And you get all of these amazing candidates by voting the straight Democratic ticket. That's the easy thing to do. Now, you can go down and bubble if you like, but it's easier to just vote and support these amazing candidates up and down the ticket, from the governor all the way down to a historic race that we have the opportunity with Stephanie Floyd to flip a school board race. And so we would hope that we'd have this African-American woman to be able to represent us on the Jefferson County School Board. So that would be a historic race as well. I would encourage people to go look at the Greater Birmingham Ministries election guide if you want to learn more about the candidates before tomorrow. But I just want you to think about who traditionally has been the ones that have supported the Black community. Democrats are not perfect. We got a lot of work to do. But traditionally, in modern history, that's the party that has been supportive of the Black community. So I'm voting the straight Democratic ticket, flipping that ballot over, voting yes to recompile the Alabama State Constitution. But that's the one before the amendments. And then number 10 to finish the work.
Okay.
So that's what I'm asking folks to do. But I need you to take, as one of my colleagues said earlier this morning, Lottie, Dottie, and everybody. It's going to be about turnout. Can I just mention one thing? District 57, the district that I'm leaving.
Okay.
Black Republican told me on the floor of the House of Representatives, you won your seat overwhelmingly, but 40% of your district voted for Trump. There's a Republican running in District 57 and a Libertarian because they think they can pick these Black seats off. We need to prove to them that we are not going to sit back and let it happen. So take everybody you know to go out and vote tomorrow.
All right. We appreciate that. Good people vote. What's your thoughts?
Yes, make sure that when you go out tomorrow that you have everything prepared.
Yes.
Make sure you bring as many people as you can with you. Um, Voting is something that was given to us and that we have to make sure that we keep. There's a lot of weird, crazy things happening in front of our eyes. And if we don't do anything or if we don't believe in ourselves enough to go out, then that can change.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that, your vote doesn't matter. There was a time where our vote didn't matter and it didn't count. And what did we do? We made it count. And so there's no reason why you shouldn't feel important enough and feel special enough to go out and cast your vote. So
thank you.
That's all we got to say.
For sure. So we have heard everything. We talked about everything that's on the ballot, but we've also talked about some deeper issues. We started off earlier this evening with our current Congresswoman Terry Sewell. She mentioned the kitchen table issues, the things that affect us directly that we often forget about when they get caught up in the grand scheme of things with these big political processes like in DC. But they start here. They start at home, and we are encouraging you to get out to vote. Everything that you heard today will be on our social media. So give me a few minutes and I'll post that. And then tomorrow, be sure to tune in as well. More information being disseminated all day right here on the V. Ladies, thank you so much for tuning in. Not tuning in, coming in. You are so welcome. Thank you. Y'all came in like boom, and we just did this thing like we practiced.
Look at God.
Look at there. Look at there.
I miss you, my brother Chris Coleman, but we had a great time today.
Yeah. Ooh. Chris will be back soon. Everybody will be back in their places very soon. So y'all keep it locked right here to the V. Have a great evening. The V Mix at 6 is on the way. So we're going to ease on into a pre-election party. That's what I'm going to call it tonight. So keep it locked right here to the V. I'll be back after that tomorrow right here on V94.9 WATV.
I like that. It was so nice.
It was so nice.
We taking pictures.